acetylcholine, which enters the synaptic vesicles.
So you don't have to worry about what happens to the acetylcholine after that. That's just how we stop the signal, which we already learned in the muscle chapter. Questions on neurotransmitter action? I'm going to tell you about 3 neurotransmitters. Acetylcholine we've seen at the neuromuscular junction. It's also used within the central nervous system and in autonomic in a couple of different locations. Norepinephrine, very chemically similar to epinephrine, which is the hormone you might know as adrenaline, is part of the sympathetic nervous system. So signals to rev things up often use norepinephrine. And then serotonin is a central neurotransmitter involved in sleep and anxiety. And there's a lot more of them. There's something like 30 different ones that you might run across. Okay, so now we're going to move out from looking at individual neurons to the wider view of them working together to transmit messages. So tracts in central, nerves in peripheral have many axons running together. So you don't just have one cell that has to handle the whole message by itself. Although when we get to a muscle and controlling a motor unit, each muscle cell has one neuron that controls it. But the message to the muscle as a whole has multiple neurons. In the CNS, the interneurons also work together, and they're in groups called neuronal pools. So tracts and nerves are for axons going some distance, even if it's a short distance, like from one part of the brain to another. Neuronal pools are when they're all grouped together making a decision. So that's your football huddle, when everybody comes together. Neural pathways are where the messages go in a sequence. There's communication between neuronal pools, and then there's the sensory and motor pathways. Synapses are not always one-to-one, where one presynaptic cell talks to one postsynaptic cell. Numbers can increase or decrease as well as staying the same. Convergence is when the numbers decrease. And this is a way to amplify the signal. When you have multiple neurons, multiple presynaptic cells, talking to a smaller number of postsynaptic cells, it's more input and therefore a stronger signal. Okay. You can think of this as, if one kid's going, "Mama, want hot dogs," it's easier to ignore than if all the kids start going, "Hot dogs, hot dogs, hot dogs." That's a convergent pathway. They're all ganging up to make sure the message gets through. One place we have this is in our eyes. The sensors for low light levels, which are called rods, do a convergent pathway. So the tiny bits of light hitting multiple rods get joined together to tell your optic nerves there's some light here. But because the signal is coming from a wider area, that's why everything's fuzzy, is you can't get as much detail of exactly where the light is. Divergence is when we spread out the signal. There are more postsynaptic neurons than presynaptic. This is used when we need to spread out the signal to more than one location. For example, if multiple neuronal pools are involved in the processing, or if you need to signal more than one effector. You'll see this in some cases with the autonomic nervous system. Say for a stress situation, your heart needs to beat faster, you need to breathe faster, but at the same time you slow down your digestion. And so the signal could spread out to cover all of those locations. So that is chapter 10. Lab today is